Okay, so I was asked to do this talk, and it was about the future. I'm not going to talk about the future. I can't talk about the future. I can barely even know what's going on in the same day. This talk is about my kind of almost personal journey through the world of apps. I'm sure you're familiar with apps, and it's been something. The App Store has been somewhat of a playground for me over the last 3 years. So I want to take you on that journey in the hope of giving you some understanding about our journey, and hopefully some of the things that we tell you will inform how you go in the future. I hope you don't make some of the mistakes we make, and I hope that you get inspired by some of the things we've done. So it's worth noting that of the 100 people, a lot of them do an awful lot of great stuff, and I'm doing more of the entertainment stuff, and I don't take stuff so seriously. So I am co-founder of ustwo, but I'm also, more importantly, Chief Wonka. And sadly, my kind of only real intelligence over the last few years was realizing, I think about 3 years ago, that this beautiful thing called the App Store was out there, but no one was really talking about the truth of the App Store. Of course, there were some serious successes out there, but there was some other people, including myself, who were not being so successful out there. So my kind of thought was start putting out there, start telling everyone the truth, or the truth of what we did anyway, and in the hope that other people will learn from that, and also they'll also put information out there for us to learn back from. So my talk today is about Succelia, and I'm not sure if you know what I've done there, but it's extremely clever. Success and failure. Now, the success part for me is this. Wow! So over the last 3 years, a small part of the company has been focused on producing our own IP, stuff that we want to actually make, we want to chuck out there, we want to experiment, we want to have fun with. As I said, we don't take it too seriously. We put all of this out there, and it's worth noting that it's never been about making money. That's not what this part of the company is about. It's about exploring mobile, exploring how to sell direct to the public, which is something that we had never done. If you think that we built a company now that's up to 100 people, we're extremely good at selling to clients, working with our clients to produce fantastic products. But I had never sold direct to a consumer before. And this was kind of our lesson. Well, this was where we learned, and this is where we were able to sell back those ideas and those learnings back to the client again. So if that was success, then over 3 years, that would be the failure, in that we obviously had to spend a lot of money in terms of our time and our effort, not actual cash from the back of my pocket, but to have a big studio with big overheads. And thankfully, I wasn't ever basing the success on the money side of things. So anyway, 3 years ago was a pivotal moment for me. My child was born, and it was a fantastic moment. Stepping, as you can see here on the left, was born on exactly the same day as my actual child. But this is where my love for this world really came about. I mean, the App Store was a game changer for me. I'm so passionate about what we do in mobile. I'm so passionate about getting up here and talking about our learnings from this place. So I have equal love for both of those two things. And my daughter has been instrumental, really, in helping us understand more about how to sell to people. And she's going to come back in later on, not actually onto the stage though. So this is where we really learned, that selling to clients is one thing, but selling to consumers is another. They tell you what they think. This game was all right. Actually, I liked it. But this is one of my favorite reviews. That hurt. That game was actually fairly successful, but this really made you realize that you're creating something that can't just sort of be good for you. It has to actually make more sense outside of the studio than in it. And clearly that one didn't. So what that also taught us at the same time is that making a game is one thing, or making a product is one thing. How the hell do you actually get it out there to people when the world is so big and so connected as it is today? So our next product was called Mouth Off, and this was wholly designed in order for the app itself to kind of sell itself to other people, especially in the pub, etc. You may not be able to work out what we did, but this video might help.
It's recording, is it? Is it recording? Oh, right, okay. Whilst looking for useful iPhone apps this weekend, we came across Mouthoff, which, as you can probably tell, we're using right now.
Useful being the operative word there. So yeah, Mouthoff was 59p in those days. It's now 69p. And we had, well, now something like 60 mouths in there, which of course to many was still not value for money, but it's been a good seller for us, and it's been a great piece in terms of us really learning about PR and marketing, how that's actually equal, if not more, than the actual product itself. I talked about my daughter, and she became really, really, really useful. Over 1 million hits to these websites, to these YouTube videos of my lovely daughter, you know, being very much a part of the selling. It's a family business, but making videos that was the kind of the key part of this. We actually built a website called Show Us Your Mouth Off, where the idea was if you made one of these videos, you could tag it with Show Us Your Mouth Off, and you'd put it up on this site, and you know the world could see you doing it. Of course, people don't really like making videos that make themselves look a bit stupid. However, there's always journalists who are willing to do that, and we had massive success in the fact that you know these big websites, the ones that they kind of holy grail, would make videos and talk about us. So I got invited to Bloomberg or to CNBC to talk about the kind of this crazy little app. Again, for us, hello. It also introduced us into this notion. We built this because we wanted to build it. It was purely about that. We weren't trying to make money from this. And because we did this, and because we sort of had this passion that we pushed out there, big brands like Ben 10, anyone with kids will be familiar with this brand. But when you marry the world's biggest cartoon, the world's biggest cartoon in the world, with Mouthoff, the world's biggest mouth replacement app, you get pure love. This has gone on, this app, to do fairly well for ourselves. But at the time, we had spent about 2 or 3 weeks building this thing, and it hadn't been the runaway success that kind of we were led to believe that if you build something like this, it would be. So at that time, and this was around about 2 years ago, we presumed that time was the thing that was going to unlock that gold. I say again, these things are never about making money, but it would be nice if they did. So we came up with this idea of kind of going back to like the student days of when we would kind of stay up all night and build great things in the bedroom, and you wouldn't spend much time about it. So we PR'd the fact that we were making the world's first 48-hour app. I'm sure other people had made quicker ones, but we were the first to make big noise about it. And here, we decided to take the idea of video promotion one step further for us and create these viral, videos that we wanted to become viral, these 3D immersive videos that we put out everywhere that would build this anticipation for what this 48-hour app was going to be. This beautiful 3D immersive experience. The idea of this protagonist being this white dot who was just a dot. What we had actually done though was built up such anticipation that when we released this, it wasn't quite what people were expecting. The dot simply with a trademark, was the first graphical tour we'd done, but this was our first journey in terms of moving into entertainment. We had been a user experience studio, and we wanted to actually start to make games. We wanted to make a whole set of these that were going to be like a limited edition. Like you need to appreciate these things to want them. What we had actually set out and done was this, and it's a fantastic thing to know you'd done that. You couldn't find the app on the App Store because we had trademarked it. It was the only game that you couldn't find on the App Store. Many would think you would stop there, but we didn't. We actually made a whole set of them, and just to put that extra little flavour in there, we missed out 4 and went straight to 5. Hilarious. It's worth noting that what we learned from doing these is that restricting the time you take to make apps is not the thing that's going to help you sell more. These were only 48 hours, and we'd actually restricted where we could go with these things. And I think number 3 here, we could have pushed further and further on if we had let ourselves. So time restricting is not the be-all, end-all. However, I wish we had time restricted this. Instrumental was a massive learning for us in that we took the idea of this playfulness that we had with these dots, where you couldn't really love a dot unless you were a graphic designer like myself, and create this world of insania, really. Collaboration is a big part of what we're doing these days at the studio. We love to work with different people from different environments. John Bergman's a famous illustrator. we worked with him to produce what could only be called, I'm not sure. Well, it was instrumental, that's what it was called. We got invited by Apple to come down and talk about the experience because they really liked what we had done. The idea being that you would involve yourself in this kind of musical orchestra and participate. And then you take the idea of the video promotion one step further again by you actually press a button that sends it to YouTube, and we were hoping in our dreams that millions of these videos of these crazy sort of instrumental soundtracks would go around and spread this word of instrumental. And of course, no one did it. The amazing thing here was that Apple promoted us heavily. We were invited by Apple. We had a £2.49 price point. This was the time when we thought we value the work we do as as app makers. We're not going to just put our things out for 59p anymore. Enough of that. It was the most incredible experience. 3 weeks in, this is the 3-week-in graph. Gone. Nobody was buying after 3 weeks. And that's because it was dreadful. Well, it wasn't. It looked incredible, but it didn't need to exist. It was a novelty app that you would pull out of your pocket after spending £2.49, use it once, feel a little bit sick that you'd wasted that money, and then you would never, ever use it again. In fact, you would delete it, probably. We since made it free, and people like it, but the lesson here was, to us, was, for one, don't spend a year doing this, because A, you're definitely not going to make any money, and B, make something good, make something that was for actually, well, make something that had a use beyond it being hilarious, which it wasn't, sadly. iPad 1 or 2, iPad 1, God, we're still back in the old age. iPad 1 came out, and I think for this we wanted to create something that worked only for iPad, not about porting something that could be work on the iPhone, but create something bespoke for the iPad. We wanted to be part of that launch. We created Granimator, which was a very simple wallpaper creator, but to take it, you literally, believe it or not, make wallpapers using the iPad, and then you can share them to all your friends, blah, 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 blah. But for us, the interesting thing here was that this would become a design network, or networks as I wrote there. We created a platform that then we invited friends to create packs for, as we called them, design packs, so that different designers could use our platform and leverage that platform to get onto the App Store easier. And that moved out, and then eventually we've now got up to, I think, 55 different celebrity in the world of design artist packs. And we would sell them, well, not we sell them, because actually this was pure free. That was the proviso, is that we would create this platform, we wouldn't sell it, and we wanted all the packs to be free as well, so that people, we were sick basically of things like the Crazy Frog that was shown before. We wanted people to have beautiful wallpapers for their beautiful devices. So that was a good example for us of just kind of wanting to put something out there that kind of helped to push forward the genre of wherever that, I don't know where that's going. Don't say fancy words if you haven't rehearsed. So I've obviously forgot to put something there, so that's nice. Maybe it's next. I know. So social. People have been talking about social. Woo, it's the saviour of everything. I'm not particularly intelligent, which probably comes across, but I don't really understand what even social is, and I still don't understand. Anyway, this was kind of coming up to the end of 2011. No, it wasn't, because that's now. 2010, and everyone was talking about social, and we were thinking, well, let's try to create something that is a little bit social, that maybe has a chance of getting out there and doing fairly well. So we created a thing called Happy Snapper, and the idea, very simply, being that you take photos of your mates and then you make fools of them without them knowing about it. Hilarious, it's going to be the new fat boos, we're thinking. What we'd actually done in creating a social app was actually create a new genre, solo-cial. Nobody shared anything from that. 500,000 downloads later, within a few weeks, free, my ad, these were our sharing stats. For an app purely designed to be shared, we had failed yet again. So I better move on, because this says I've only got 3 minutes left. 2011, we decided to take things much more seriously, in that we wouldn't just be doing downtime projects. Well, like all those things were sort of when clients weren't paying us, we'd be working on the side trying to create these things. We'd actually put a team together. We call it CWA, Content with Attitude, the worst name we could come up with, hence it's right. We have an adventure fund. We don't do venture funding, we do adventure funding here. We have my own space, Wonkaville, in here, that 10 of us stay in. and we'd create something truly special. And we were sick of like the Photoshop jockeys that you were getting out there, where basically everything looked digital. We wanted to hark back to the old days of the old storytime elements, books. So Denslow had written a book called Mother Goose, and his work was out of copyright, and we reimagined the book that he wrote hundreds of years ago for the iPad generation. More importantly, we actually tested it with children. This was the end person, was who it was aimed at. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. It was about the tactility. It was about bringing tactile back. It was about showcasing the iPad for all of its worth. It was all about touch. No, TechCrunch said that, which I'm not sure if it's good or not, but they talked about it, which was more important. But there was a reason, actually. I do know why they said that, because we knew that actually if we created something beautiful, it wasn't going to be enough to sell the thing. It had to be more than that. So we created this. Storytime is called.
Storytime. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
If you've got tissues, it's best to get them out now. It's sad. So what you have here is the father who's at work, like all of us have to do probably, or the mother, and he can't get home, or he's too lazy to go home to look at and read to his child. So luckily we built a feature called Storytime, which means you don't need to go home and see your children anymore.
And the dish ran away with the spoon.
And it worked. And it worked so much that Apple promoted it purely on the fact that we had this Storytime feature. That this was the thing. We used Game Center, and it was incredible. And more importantly, the press went crazy for it. Of course, none of them were really talking about the app. They were talking about this dreadful idea of the remote reading, and we didn't want anyone to do that. But we knew we had to do something like that. This went to #1 in the book chart. This was the highest grossing book. This was the highest grossing book on the iPad in the US and the UK. We thought we had struck gold.
Our survey said...
Fail again. I mean, again, we're not trying to make money, but it would have been nice. This is like the power of Apple. 3 weeks in a row, those big boom, 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 is the Apple promotion. And then no matter how much press we were getting off that, flatlined after that.